Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're streaming on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch for the first time. It looks like it's working. I've cross-checked it on every monitor, and I think I'm getting some positive feedback. I've got the largest man in the fucking building with us today, Big Beta Sigma Sensei. How are you, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, dude. We haven't caught up in a while, and I guess this is the way to do it, huh?
Yes, sir.
Hold on,
Well,
let me do that, and we'll get some screen time going in. If you guys can hear us all right, just give me some feedback. If you can hear and see him, even better. Dude, that shirt looks like it's about to rip on you.
it is ripped.
How do you shop for clothing?
It's called you have to shop at fat people places like Walmart. At least for the comfy stuff. Other than that, it has to be fitted. So all my dress stuff has to be fitted and then refitted every year. So
Do you have a suit? Like, do you have an actual suit that fits
you? I do, but I basically have to, I have to get resized constantly, right? So if I'm in like an off season and I'm trying to gain as much weight as possible, I mean, I might gain 40 pounds and then I don't fit.
What are you at right now?
I'm like 305 right now, 310 maybe.
Jesus Christ.
And then,
what are you benching?
so I hit 545 with chains last month and I had a slight pec tear. Nothing big. I was pretty scared at the time. I felt it pop just a little bit, got the rep out, and then I'm like, oh shit. I just tore my pec, didn't I? And then I gave it like a week, didn't have much pain, just a little bit sore, no bruising. So I been kicking it back up slowly. I'm not doing anything too heavy right now.
So for someone who doesn't know, tell me what's the purpose of chains? Like when you're benching, it's just more resistance.
Yeah, so chains are just accommodating resistance, meaning you're able to make it incrementally harder as the rep goes higher. So typically people that use chains, it's because they're either trying to train their lockout or they're doing powerlifting for equipped, which means they're wearing like a bench shirt. So it's to replicate that bench shirt, helping at the bottom but getting harder at the top. They're kind of overrated. I really just did it for the video. So
that's fair. And when you in that video, are you doing one rep or are you doing several?
I got one. Yeah, I just got one. It was actually a pretty quick rep though, so I was kind of surprised. It was probably like without chains, like 435-ish at the chest, and then at the top, because there's so many chains at the top, it's like 545.
Jesus. But outside of that, you said you're back into trading a little bit. What's going on with that? Are you?
Yeah, it's a lot less boring now. It's a lot less boring now than it has been in previous months. Typically what I do in bear markets, like, after 2017, 2018, and 19 was really relaxed for me. And pretty much the same thing for the last year or so. I usually focus more on like my bodybuilding, my powerlifting career, or build something, take up some kind of hobby. Because usually in bull markets, I'm on like a totally different schedule. I usually have terrible sleep schedule. Like at the beginning of this bull market, I was pretty much staying up through London Open, China hours, napping, and then waking up for New York Open, maybe staying awake for like an hour and then going back to sleep and then waking up for close. So it was just brutal hours, not very fun. I'd much rather have a calm bear market to sit through. So the last few months, though, I would say, maybe not few months, like about a month, I've been taking more trades, maybe a few trades a week. But I'm trying not to get the addiction back, right? Because when I'm in full swing, it's like I can't leave my monitor, and I don't even want to like do anything else, go to the gym.
Yep.
And so that's always been a problem for me. I'm kind of like a one-track mind. So if I'm not trading, I'm able to do everything else. But if I'm trading, it's the only thing I can think about.
So a lot of people don't know because they're mostly new to either this cycle or last cycle, but how many cycles have you been through? You've been in this fucking market for a long ass time.
Yeah, 10 years. So I started trading equity options early in college, and I didn't really, so I had bought my first Bitcoins um, we were actually getting my friend Drew a birthday present off of Silk Road, and I bought my first Bitcoins. And I probably didn't start trading till like post Gox collapse. Really, like actually early Phemex was when I really started trading, at least Bitcoin. And so yeah, it's been 10 years, I guess. 2012 would,
Wow.
yeah. So yeah, 10 years, long time.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Fucking this man has been here for every cycle. So, what are your current thoughts on what's happening? Is this the most hated bear market rally of all time? Is this the start of a doom bull market and everyone's going to make it all back? Is this Binance cartel propping price up with BUSD and selling off USDT and every other stable coin? What do you think is happening and why? And how are you planning and playing with it?
So I probably in taking my trades under the guise of two major factors. Number one is looking at the last, 6 months or so of bearish catalysts. We had the Three Arrows Capital and lending collapse, and then we had the Luna collapse, and then obviously this FTX debacle. Given that we didn't, make any new lows at the tail end of that FTX event for majors, I think it's probably a good proxy that if we were to go much lower, we're going to need, something additional like what you said with maybe some hairy behavior with Binance, but I kind of doubt that. And then as of like the recent bullish action, given the context of previous bear markets, we've done multiple 100% ranges before in a bear market. I think a lot of the newer people don't realize that, we went from even say like this last bear market, we went from like, low 3K to 10K, 13K, I think we did like 13.5 from 3K. So multiple 100% range. So I wouldn't say it's impossible for us to go where I think we're going, which is 30K. And I think that's where we'll probably run into some more serious resistances somewhere between. I think we could probably stall out around 25 for a bit, but I ultimately think this could end at 30K. But I'm also concerned with equities. Equities look great right now, but I don't think we're out of the woods with some kind of so if you look, today's been pretty good, but I don't think equities are out of the woods, so therefore I don't think we are. I do think we'll continue to have some correlation there. Every time I try and bet against the correlation, I end up regretting it. So
Yeah.
things, it definitely used to not be that way. So this is a little bit of untapped territory for me, because even like last bear market, you didn't really have any, you didn't have predatory like algorithms through even, like last year, these predatory jump algorithms with equities and Bitcoin. So there was definitely a lot less to be said there. But yeah, ultimately, I don't see any reason to stop here.
Do you think that we're in a global meltdown recession and this is not the end of absolute pain, and it might be just bear market rally?
I think I am pretty. So what I'll say is I think we'll get a reprieve in equities, but ultimately I think that equities are going to go a lot lower. Maybe not a lot lower. I don't think I tend to think the true answer is usually more boring, and I think that with equities at least, we may just have a boring year, and this reprieve could last another 2-3 months, for example, and in that time, crypto rallies, and then again, I think crypto probably won't see another major bull trend, new highs, etc., for roughly another year. I think probably I would say 8 to 10 months at the very earliest before. Yeah, I wouldn't even say that actually. I would say we probably have another year of boring chop. I honestly don't think we'll have new Bitcoin lows.
You don't?
No, I don't. I don't think we'll have new Bitcoin lows. I think it's a pretty healthy proxy that we didn't make, that we didn't go substantially lower during the tail end of the FTX event. There are some things to be played out there. Obviously, we aren't seeing any serious signs of, new regulation. I think the community in general has done a lot of good in terms of keeping Sam, like, yeah, I think Elon said it best, is the best coverage was on crypto Twitter. And I think I actually, because at the beginning of that whole scenario, I think many of us thought one of like three things. He was either a plant, and therefore we are to expect there is some pre-decided regulation coming, right?
Yeah.
But that ended up, I don't see that happening. I don't think anybody's going to stick their neck out for him, especially if you're seeing FTX as some kind of Democrat Party money siphoning vehicle. They're not even going to stick their necks out for him, because they've even seen the vicious response by the community, and I just don't see it happening. And so I think he will probably go to jail. I think he will be convicted of multiple counts of fraud, accounting fraud, marketing fraud, etc.
Yo, by the way, Altcoin Psycho says, "What up?" Yeah,
What's
he's
up?
watching the stream.
What's up, Altcoin Psycho?
But I was totally a fucking doomer when the year started. I was like, holy shit, everything's going to zero. We have stagflation for 15 years. It's the 70s, 80s all over again. This bear market rally started. I'm going to still call it a bear market rally because it is. I'm not going to call it anything else until it clears highs. And then I started to think, maybe it's delayed, but I still am a doomer. And I still think that, even if we rallied for 8 months, 12 months, like the over looming and recession is not just going to dissipate. The debt ceiling, everything, like it's a conversation that could go forever, but it's not looking good. We've been in a bull market for 14 years on every, not just crypto, but in terms of just prosperous economic conditions and printing money and so forth. So what I'm going to do for the next 8 months is fucking milk the shit out of it, and then hopefully buy a compound in Montana and never see anybody again, never hear about TikTok, and never hear about social media, and never have to deal with anybody ever again. And that being said, we got to make some fucking money. So I was actually I was kind of leaning to the short side of BTC, but I think this is going to be one of those rallies for the next few days that just keeps going. I haven't looked at divergences on any time frame, but I'm sure they're not great. What I'd like to see for a continuation play is something like that, which would be pretty cool. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't bet it. I'm not long BTC here, but I definitely am long some other shit. and let's get right into it. By the way, this stream is sponsored by Phemex. I do all my trading at Phemex. You should do all your trading at Phemex. They've posted proof of reserves. They've posted their Merkle tree, their liabilities versus their assets. I'm comfy there right now, and surprisingly, the second tier exchanges are doing the best. XRP, fuck, dude, I've been sitting in this goddamn trade for so long. Beta, how do you feel about it? I'm sure you're not trading anything outside of BTC and ETH.
Right. Yeah.
But I've been sitting this for like 2 weeks. It's sitting pretty. I'm in profit, so healthy. It's gotten fucking bid on every pullback. It's outperforming BTC and ETH on the day. Solid breaker up at the top here, 48 cents. If that hits, oh, I'm gonna make such a comfy lump sum of change. I also have Doge in the mix. By the way, you don't know this because you're not in my Telegram, but oh fuck, I just missed. Damn it, I just missed mail. That's who was knocking at my door. I was supposed to sign for it, and now I didn't sign for it.
Oh, that's brutal.
Now they got to bring it back tomorrow. But anyways, I'm doing a challenge account on Phemex. It's 5,000. I fucking traded like 4 times on it. It's up to 77,000 and change. I'm going to be more aggressive with it now. I've been more aggressive with my personal account, but there's a bunch of people copy trading it, so I owe it to them to help them make some money. This is a position I'm not in on it, but Doge looks fucking banger. I'd like to say this is an Adam Eve bottom, but it's not. It's just, it's just hopeful. And if BTC doesn't fucking nuke in the next like 2 days, then this should, continue on. I don't really like this low time frame PA, but it is what it is. Let's see Sheeb. Sorry, I'm going to go over the positions that I'm in currently, and you probably have no idea. Parabola still intact. I pointed to this out last night. I'm not a huge fan of it. Starts to look like a bit of distribution after like a consistent twop up. If it is a bit of distribution, then what we'll probably see is some stupid shit like this, and then it'll distribute and parabola's broken and the trend is no longer intact. You should be prepared for that. My stops are in profit. Your stop should be in profit if you took this position with me last week. It's just the way it goes. You can't win them all. But for now, it's not, I would not say it's distribution yet. It could start to look more like distribution. What else do we have? I'm also in the Stinky Linkies. Man, I missed the OG chain link days, man.
I missed them. I had so many friends tell me to buy Link when it was nothing. Like Sobi, I remember messaged me and like
Link was the bear market champ in 2019 and 20.
Yeah.
Or 2019.
Yeah, it was like the beginning of 2019, I think, was when he messaged me.
But that being said, check this out. It's fucking been in this tiny range, or not tiny, I guess, like fucking 7-month range, almost a year now. In a few months, it'll be a year for some time. What I want to see, I'm long from like this area. What I want to see is poop, 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 and then some bullshit. It's probably not going to give everyone the bid that everybody wants. So I'm small positioned because if I get the move, it's a fucking great move. You don't need to over leverage on that kind of shit. On a lower time frame, if you're not already in, what you can try to do is place some bids, but it does look like all the dips are getting swallowed. So if it does dip any further, something like over here would probably be cool, we would need BTC to fucking take on the show to give us that entry. And then before we continue on, I want to start to interrogate you on Sigma Citadel and what your goal is, what you're doing there. But for now, ETH still in play. I think it's more bullish than BTC. I have been an ETH maxi for the year. I will continue to be, and maybe not on the lower time frames. As you can tell, it's not performing great for the year. I'd rather have ETH than BTC. It's deflationary aspects turn me the fuck on. Oh yeah, FTM. Some kid wanted me to see FTM. I've just started placing bids on FTM. Fuck, dude, these market cycles were brutal, bro. Look at this shit. I read an interesting theory that the market really ended here, and this double top was all, and like not just on FTM, but on
like with Bitcoin as well.
Yeah,
because we had a higher high.
Alameda. and just extreme leverage between all the magnates in the market. FTM is obviously super fucking strong. If you can catch a bid, catch a bid. Same situation. You bid it till the market structure breaks. Even if you get a fucking pull back into here, you know, respect the lows, respect the lows. That's how it goes. I'm a simple man. I like structure. I see it. I trade it. But you can try to bid these inefficiencies. Well, this one no longer, but here you can try to bid this. I don't think it's going to hit. I have placed a fuck ton of bids literally like right here. If BTC pulls back and then you get continuation, super chilling is also gig along FTM, which is cool confluence. So that covers the tokens that I'm interested in. Who did I tell to short? Check FTM, big chance for a 9x. And my dude, you told me to short it at 0.18. There's a single one person getting liquidated, aka I don't know what you're talking about, but I probably did at earlier this month. There was a lot of shit to short. Anyways, tell me about Sigma Citadel, brother. What are you doing over there? What's your goal? You know, how active are you? Are you personal training? Are you shilling supplements? How can you change my life? Am I gonna get big?
Yeah, you're gonna get big.
My gym partner is actually in this stream right now too. So whatever you say, I'll make sure he pushes on to me.
Good stuff. Tell him to join the Citadel.
I think he is in the Citadel actually.
So it was kind of a passion piece of mine. Like I said, most bear markets, I try and focus on some kind of bigger thing. Last like bear market 2018-19 was kind of the first time I focused on my bodybuilding career. So instead of just trading my days away in a haze of, I was living in Colorado, trading basically 24/7. And I was already kind of retired off trading, but you know how that goes is you're never really done. And it more or less just becomes an addiction. But then, I've been wanting to do something like this for a few years because I, grew up going on the different forums and bodybuilding forums and boards, etc., for information. And there was always, sort of this hierarchy system where people who had a lot of experience, who were IFBB pro bodybuilders or, maybe elite powerlifters, etc., could interface with a general community, give advice, and a lot of those threads become, famous. And there's just kind of these little, pocket communities that I learned a lot of stuff in. And then when I started, going the education route with pharmacology, sports physiology, exercise science, etc., I realized that I had a lot to say about things, and I felt the general education landscape left a lot to be desired. And so I basically what Sigma Citadel is it's a community with all the, the essence of those old bodybuilding forums, but, with all the benefits of newer technology. So your ability to do frequent voice chats and streaming and, all the perks of Discord, being able to change roles, run a business through there, post, pictures, links, etc., that the old forums definitely did not have. They were very, bare bones. And then I've got a great crew of guys who are coaches. We've got, Division I athletes with 10 years experience coaching, kinesiologist, pharmacologist, IFBB pro bodybuilder Dorian Haywood, who's also a doctor. We've got a 20-year special operations veteran as well, who has spent like 10 years running strength programs for various crews in the military. So we just have a really stacked, setup with people. And by design, I wanted to make it really affordable. So most people who want coaching a personal online coach, for example, a professional, though, they might charge $200 to $250 a month minimum. But by having a collaborative effort with a staff, we can offer, membership to basically, most people don't need a comprehensive, overarching one-on-one full meal plan, full template, hands-on guidance, all that stuff. Maybe they just need some good resources. They need the ability to ask professionals questions on a frequent basis and be answered promptly, and have someone to sift through the bullshit for them. And so by doing that, we kind of cut out the excessive coaching aspect of like online one-on-one, and we can do it at 1/5 the cost. And so it's on just a membership basis where we have the general Discord is free, and then if you want to get into the coaches corner and be able to interface with all of our coaches on as often as you want, ask any question you want, all that kind of stuff, it's really cheap. I think we're $19.99 a month right now. So it's just a way to make online coaching for, fitness, bodybuilding, powerlifting affordable. And so
It's pretty hot.
Yeah.
What's your personal goal with your fitness right now? Are you trying to get to a specific set of weight, or are you trying to get to a specific point of lift? Or are you trying to compete? Where are you going with this?
So I'm going to continue to do this kind of off season, gain as much weight into late spring. And then I'm going to diet down for probably USA Nationals in Miami in the summer, late summer, and hopefully make a trip out of it. I'm hoping to get a bunch of our mutual friends to come watch me, since it's going to be in Miami, and then we just throw a banger after I win.
It's in Miami?
Yeah.
When is that?
There's a couple national shows. I think it's either late June or July or something like that.
Nice.
So yeah.
At the same time in Miami, there's a karate combat fight, which I have a pretty cool experience getting to go to, and they take care of us and they take care of anybody I bring. So you should come. It's fucking sick, and I think it's the 4th of June. But by the way, if anybody has any questions for this huge motherfucker in terms of what you would like to know about fitness or supplements, this is your only chance to get them free right now. So fucking spam the chat and I'll make sure he reads them.
And I should say real quick, we do all weekdays, we do like a voice Q&A but we just like go hierarchy based, where I answer all the subs questions and stuff and go in depth. Yeah. So
Nice.
I do a lot of, I'm going to be streaming as well. But yeah.
My buddy and I were just driving across the country. He's actually in here, the same kid. We decided that we are fucking such Floridians because of the elevation, and any physical exercise we tried to do, we were like, wow, if you fucking lived out here and worked out like this, you'd probably become a superhuman. Is that true? You just get superpowers by living at 14,000 feet?
It's true and it's not. So I trained, with Phil Heath and, Dorian Haywood and all the famous guys in Colorado at Armbrust Gym for about 4 years. And obviously the elevation, it's at Denver's level. So it's very high elevation. They call it the Mile High Mecca. And
what is it? What is the gym called?
It's called Armbrust, but we call it the Mile High Mecca because the elevation is a mile high. And
nice.
You definitely, it's brutal the first like month you're there. I mean, you can barely get through a workout. We would be doing like, lunges in the parking lot, barbell lunges in the parking lot in the middle of the summer, and I would just go off to the side and puke and then be almost passing out from not having oxygen. and then you get used to it, and then every time you go back down to sea level, it's like every breath it feels like 2 breaths. Like I would go home, visit my parents, and I would go work out at the local gym, and I just felt like, that there was no way I could get tired. I was barely breathing hard no matter how hard I went. And I think that's why Phil Heath, who's 7-time Mr. Olympia, had a lot of success, because he would train there every year, obviously, and then posing on stage can be really tiring, actually, because you actually get really gassed quickly because you're so depleted. But he would go down to Vegas for the Olympia, and I bet that helped him a lot.
So moral is I should move somewhere up north and fucking live there for a small amount of time, get my fucking acclimation, and move down to Florida and just lift way better than I can lift now.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a while, I think, for any like physiological change, like an increase in your hematocrit or hemoglobin. It's probably going to take a decent amount of time, but like at least, I think there were some studies done on like Olympic training facility, what the rates of how their hematocrit changed and their hemoglobin changed over an amount of time. And I think it tends to be at least several weeks before there's any noticeable change in count. You maybe adapt to it a little bit before, but I think for fighters, it definitely could have a big impact. I mean, there's a lot of famous athletes that trained at altitude before big events. Michael Phelps was one who would swim at altitude. When I was in college, I remember we had a meet against Denver University, and they kicked our ass because they came down to sea level, and it was like, I imagine that's pretty consistent. But then again, you would think that the Denver Broncos, for example, would be, year after year having a massive advantage on the road. But I don't know that there is one. I mean, maybe because it's there's some aerobic aspects to football, but it's not necessarily as daunting as a purely race sport like track
soccer
or swimming or soccer. Yeah, exactly. So I would say, like, sports like field hockey and soccer and things like that, they probably have a much broader benefit.
Do you don't play sports, do you? Or did you play sports?
Yeah, I swam in college.
Oh yeah, I
was
remember that.
Division 1 swimmer.
That you did.
Yeah.
I'm like scanning through charts while you talk at the same time, but I just found something interesting.
Are you using in silico there?
No, this is oh yeah, the heuristic. This is one of my favorite things to use in a trending
What settings
market.
are you using?
I
What
don't know. I
settings
think
do you
they're
have
just
it on? On the EMA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
like it too.
great in a trending market.
Yeah.
It's just a great place to place bids. And I've said this before, probably like 7 streams ago. If you do have this heuristic or something similar, just EMAs will honestly work. This is like an EMA copy. You can always bid this type of trend and get a pretty solid result out of it. So I was just showing that for LDO, but VET looks interesting here. This kind of, this type of like vertical accumulation, it's relative. I haven't looked at anything else. I don't know the volume. I don't know the open interest. I don't know if this is something that's being heavily counter or faded and the funding's ridiculous, but like this type of shit normally tends to lead to a super violent move up. Doesn't mean I'm going to trade it, just an observation. Something else that I wanted to show someone just asked LDO. This is where I would use the heuristic. Like you can pretty much on the 4 hour, you can pretty much always bid the heuristic and get some sort of result out of it. That doesn't mean just leave resting bids and then be like, I'm out. It means, if you get filled, you probably should keep an eye on it and then adjust the stop live. I normally don't even use stops when I'm sitting at my computer and actionable, but when I like leave to go do shit or I'm on my phone, I do use stops. So the heuristic is sick. EMAs, MAs are all fucking dope in trending markets. And when you get them, you take advantage of it. Whoa, what was that? That's the type of shit I'm talking about. You have this like quick buyback, you get the little fucking vertical accumulation, super violent.
Yeah, I always used that indicator. I still do. I throw it up and then, I kind of run my indicators through like a hierarchy conviction basis. So I kind of start with, principle one being I'm going to observe price action, rudimentary price action, and say you assign like like that's number one, and then once you've kind of determined what you think is going to happen based on basic price action, you maybe start looking at different indicators to support your bias, or let you gauge risk, let you gauge sizing, etc. Heuristics were a really big that heuristic specifically. There's another one I think is called Hull, or is it?
Oh yeah, I have it, the Holma.
Yeah, so that kind of is good for catching like the meat of a move. So a lot of times when you have like a strong breakthrough, I'll actually be more likely to follow into a position with a stop, around the bend, and then because it tends to signal kind of the meat of the move is about to happen when you have. But
that's funny. I just saw on Twitter, I follow like Unlock Calendar, and if any of you don't know what that is, Unlock Calendar just tells you like fucking pre-sale unlocks or whatever vesting contracts for specific tokens. And you can see Alice was unlocked recently. Doesn't look great. Just swap to 0. The good thing to traders right now is that there are a lot of sick setups. Like now this, grabs my attention too. I've kind of seen this type of shit before. It leads to very violent moves, but the biggest and the most difficult part for everybody is execution. Will you be able to execute efficiently and safely without getting blown out if it goes against you? AVAX looks kind of similar to what audio just did, right? You have like this little drawdown, some fucking vertical accumulation. I don't think it's probably a little more efficient than audio, so you won't get as violent of a move, but you can tell that it'll continue to trend. So you could probably bid it and then set a stop below the lows. And this is what I'll do like day to day. I'll sit here and I'll just run through my entire list of scams that I like to trade. Dude, BTC looks so fucked up. I hate it. Like I don't like when moves like this happen because I always wait to try and catch these. Like this is so inefficient in my opinion. This is inefficient in my opinion. This has to get revisited at some point. BTC could get to 30 and it would get revisited, but like I don't think this is going to support a sustainable.
I think it'll go for like I think it'll be like a 3 move. So we probably have
one more.
Yeah,
so something like
and
this.
And then I think we go retest, and then we probably end up at 30K. Yeah,
that's the way it goes. And it's funny because if you made a lot of money in the last 2 weeks and you don't catch this, you might FOMO in here, and then you'll add on every single drawdown and you'll give all of it back. So as these moves get more extended, so minimize the position sizes and be a little more careful, and but don't fade it so soon or you could also get in trouble. Anybody want to see specific charts, feel free to just spam them in the chat and I'll try to bring them up and see if I can find anything. CPX and CRV, huge bullish in the next few days. I'm long them on the challenge account. This type of fucking bull flag, in my opinion, is going to break out pretty aggressively, and I'll probably screenshot this later and be like, look, I told you so. But this is like a low float token that's really easy to squeeze probably. CRV is its mother or father. So we'll keep an eye on those moving forward. I need doggy coins to go up. Fuck, man. This one looks great. DOT looks great as well. Probably low volume, low float. This shit could probably get squeezed to oblivion. I know this was like heavily shorted at one point. It's facing massive resistance on a higher time frame. DYDX has been weird. Not a fan of trading this kind of shit. I don't know, man. EGLD, I think they rebranded or some shit recently for the second time. Yeah, DOT. Aave narrative. Let's see. Okay. People showing tokens. That's what I like to see. Aave, man, scary price action. That's for sure. It's like you can't really enter a position up here, but then you miss the move and then you end up chasing it. I don't know. Can't really do much with Aave right now. It's the same vibe, right? Like if you want to bid the heuristic and say, fuck it, the heuristic holds, I'm long, then you just throw a bid somewhere in here. What I'll do is I'll layer orders from the like the bottom of the cloud to the top of it, with the meat being in the middle, so that the average is really there, and then stop out something like that. I'll post every single one of these that we go over in my Telegram so that you guys can reference them later. Next one was PYR USD. Let's see it. Something similar. I think on a higher time frame, this looks pretty good. Similar to Link, it's got this like range that's been, someone's been swooping the bottom every time it gets to the lows. They're comfy. They're sitting in a position. They'll probably sell at $8, $9. Same shit. You either trade the breakout and try to catch it, or you just bid any pullbacks with your MAs and hope that it doesn't go below them and stop you out and continue. And then DOT, which I was just looking at, honestly looks my favorite. I'll try to bid some DOT if I can get any action out of it. Whenever you find a token that you fucking like and you want to hold, you just wait for pullbacks and you bid it. Yeah, that's all I got for fucking tokens. Whew, so that was a speed run. Beta, you looking at any low market cap scams?
No, I
so much
basically
I love it.
delegate. It's not even a maturity thing. I think I just would prefer to delegate on anything having to do with, like fundamentals. That's what I've done for years, where it's like, I basically have a list of people that I defer to on, what's new, what's hot, what's gonna change the game, what's gonna be a bubble, etc. And then I just focus on my game, which is Bitcoin and ETH.
Yeah.
That's just been the same story. Because I trade some, like I've been accumulating Monero for like the last year. I've been trading that, just trying to build a bag in Monero.
Do you like the privacy token narrative?
Yeah, I do. It's a little scary with like the new ZKP stuff with ETH that's coming, like Starks, etc.
Yeah.
Makes me think, honestly, I've never been more bullish on ETH long term,
Yeah.
given what they, we had the biggest hurdle now in the rearview mirror. So everything else on their plan, it just looks like dessert. So, I mean, I think you really won't be able to go wrong if you're accumulating ETH for the next year. I think long term ETH and Bitcoin are still gonna, they're gonna be perfectly sufficient. But I definitely think ETH has a higher ceiling in the next year for sure. But this new, because there's a few ZKP protocols in the game. XMR, I think, is superior to Zcash. I think Zcash is dog shit.
Don't tell Gainsey that. I don't think he even trades Zeke anymore.
Dude, yeah, I have no respect for the Zcash community at all.
I don't know anything about the community, to be quite honest.
Sorry,
holy shit, dude! Your dog sounds like a dragon.
Yeah.
How much does he weigh?
He's like 150 pounds.
You're lying, bro. Let me see him.
Ryu?
Bro,
Ryu?
Your dog is like a fucking animal
Ryu,
version of you.
Come here. Come say hi to people.
Holy shit.
Come here. Right. Come here.
Yo, your dog. I would not break into your house for several reasons, but he is one of them.
He's like glued to the door. He probably heard the mailman.
Do you have one dog only?
I have two. I have a Pitbull Shepherd boxer mix rescue. She's a sweetie, and then I have a American Akita. What was I saying before oh yeah, about yeah, I just
Zcash
think like
community
the
trash.
lack of the lack of ASIC resistance, and ultimately like the biggest thing for me with Zcash, if we're gonna speak on any fundamentals, because if there's anything I actually do care about, it's probably privacy is a big factor. I think there will be some kind of bubble that is like dark fi, so to speak, where you have some kind of ZKP or Stark's protocol DeFi type thing, where which was kind of like the initial DeFi, but I think that'll probably be a bubble at some point. But I think the Zcash is pretty much terrified of ZK Starks right now. I imagine the whole community is. And they've spent like the last few years pretending they're ASIC resistant, and they've never met like a regulator they don't like. It's like they're giant suck ups, and having your entire team be doxxed as a privacy, it just doesn't make sense. But so I like XMR for that, and Ethereum, getting Starks would be really kind of brutal for
Can you explain what Stark is to someone who doesn't know?
It's just like a more superior ZKP protocol. Essentially, it's like new. I honestly don't know really how exactly it works. I'm not.
Another token that looks like it's gonna fucking go off fireworks is comp. I think this breaks, it goes up to 96 easy. I'll leave this chart up and I'll claim some clout in like 3 months when I don't trade it, but have the chart up. Let's see. Fuck, man, I have to go to the gym. I gotta eat and go to the gym. By the way, actually, I have you. What is your protocol on eating before the gym as opposed to eating after, working out on an empty stomach or not? How empty, protein before and after, protein only after, etc.
So there's a few rules of thumb that I go by if I'm training for hypertrophy specifically or strength. So, generally you do want to have some kind of easily digested carbs before a workout. There's, in the last few years, keto has become very prevalent in people saying that, oh, you perform the same on keto as you would if you had carbs performance wise. That's just not true at all. Now, for like, can you perform well? Yes. Is it optimal for, peak force production? No, definitely not. Having muscle glycogen stores is anti-catabolic. Generally we see a higher rate of catabolism in ketosis than we do when muscles are saturated with glycogen. So basically what I'll do is I'll have some kind of easily digested carb before I work out with some protein. I'm not too fancy with my timing. The kind of anabolic window fallacy has been proven to be at best a negligible difference, like versus eating like an hour after you work out, or even longer. And then I try to elicit an insulin response after I work out, meaning I have more high glycemic carbs post workout with easily digested protein. Whey has the highest bioavailability of any protein, so I'll typically, I'm a big milk drinker as it is, so I don't need to worry about that too much. But yeah, so I'll do like an oatmeal or a cream of rice or something like that with maybe a little bit of fructose in the form of some fruit. I've been doing like 2 apples, oatmeal, or cream of rice before I work out, and like a glass of milk, and then
So not protein is not massive before a workout.
no, you want to have some free aminos in your bloodstream for sure, but you don't necessarily need to have a lot of protein before you work out, you know, if at all. So like a lot of times my morning I'll do like, you know, a few eggs, or you know, I really love the, it's not the healthiest choice. Don't, you know, do as I say, not as I do, but like chorizo tacos, egg tacos in the morning. I love that meal with I'll just have like milk down in like a liter of water in the
What's
morning.
your favorite fast food meal? Best calorie per dollar? Asks Luzim in the chat.
Best
Calorie
my
per
my
dollar. Favorite fast food.
oh gosh.
Doesn't have to be fast food, but
You know,
like
fast food, yeah,
affordable.
like okay, so living in Colorado, my favorite kind of cheat meals that were cheap was pho. My mentor Dorian Haywood, he pushed pho on me a lot because of just getting really high amounts of collagen in my diet for joint health. And so I would go and get like the works, like a huge bowl with tendon, meatball, tripe, literally all the connective tissue still in the pho. And then I'd get like the wrap, the, you know, they have like these like clear rice pancake wraps with rice, bean sprouts, prawns, whatever kind of meat, etc. That was a big one. I also did get a lot of Chick-fil-A in yeah.
Yeah, what about
Here I don't, you know, here at
Chipotle?
my, yeah, at the lake house I don't eat out almost ever. Maybe at right after I go to the gym, but nothing delivers here, right?
How
Because
many
I'm
calories are
pretty
you eating a day?
um you know, not everybody thinks you know, the biggest people on earth are eating like 10,000 calories. That's actually completely a myth. And even most of like the first I probably eat around 6,000 to
That's fucking a
6,500
lot, brother.
calories. And but I always get a kick out of it because the first time I tried to join a pro team for in bodybuilding, tried to join my mentor's team, he asked me how much I can eat a day, and I just pulled the 10,000 number out of my ass, and he just ridiculed me. And from then on, it was like a big lesson. He's like, because I was like, I don't know, I could probably get down 10,000 calories a day. And he just goes, no, you can't.
What does
Like it was the
10,000
first.
calories look like? Like how many
So like
bowls of
you'll see people
Chipotle?
do, oh God, I mean, it's an enormous amount of food. And if you're eating even relatively clean, it's damn near impossible. So you could do it like a challenge, like these big people do it on YouTube. They do the 10,000 calorie challenge. It is the most unsustainable thing you could think. So people, for example, are usually shocked to hear that number one, Michael Phelps never ate 10,000 calories a day. That was all
Did he claim
bullshit.
that or did the media claim that?
I think the media claimed it, and then he kind of fed into it, but it's just totally untrue that he ever ate 10,000 calories a day. He probably ate between 5,000 calories and 6,000 calories a day at his peak, right? Same thing is like Thor Jornsson, the you know, the mountain.
Yeah.
Never was he eating 10,000 calories a day. None of these major strongmen ever eat 10,000 calories a day. They're all maybe eating like, I would say the higher end, they're maybe eating 7,000 calories a day, somewhere around there. And it's pretty, you know, it's still pretty lean. I mean, but people just don't understand how much food 10,000 calories per day is. It's an enormous amount of food. And if you're not cheating with like a tub of like brownie batter Ben and Jerry's every night,
Jesus,
you
bro.
know, and even then I think that's only like 1,700 calories, like a whole,
But are those
like with their
even good
regular size
calories
one.
that you want? Like why would you
No,
even
not necessarily. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big I think you know, meeting your micro macros, the excess calories matter substantially less. You know, you see this with a lot of the best power lifters of all time and strongmen of all time is, you know, at the end of the day, if they're meeting their macronutrient needs and micronutrient needs, the excess calories, whether they come in the form of carbs, fat, or protein, which would be very unlikely that it's excessive calories and protein. If it's carbs and fats, it just, tends not to matter. They've done a lot of research. I would actually err on the side of carbs, because I think if you're having a ton of like polyunsaturated fats, you're going to run into issues with excessive omega-6. If you're going to eat a ton of saturated fat, you kind of have to, the seed oil debate has become all the rage, right? Where it's like, our seed oil is good. Why is it that polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFAs, are so seemingly healthy in the research? How do we contend with maybe parts of both of these being true? What is real? That's a tough one for me as someone who is adept in the research, and I spend a lot of time reading the research, and you kind of do have to contend with these two major factors with the seed oil debate, which is, hey, look, basically the weight of the evidence is in favor of polyunsaturated fats, these seed oils being one of them, being healthy, improved health outcomes in virtually all health vectors across populations, long term, etc. People with high HDL having poor outcomes across, even when when they take into account particle size and all these other factors that people like to point to, long term, there's like this linear degradation in health in the presence of high HDL or high LDL. But I also do believe seed oils are bad. So it's like, how do you contend with believing both of these
There's
things,
no
right?
argument that canola oil is good, right?
No, there are. That's the weird thing. So what I'm saying is, I'm suspicious that we have more research in the novelty direction to prove that there are other factors when taking in saturated fat, that can make it healthy, or sustainable. So like having higher levels of saturated fat in your diet, if you're eating a lot of organ meat, a lot of red meat, and a lot of saturated fat, whether it's in the form of milk with stearic acid, or you know, basically what the research shows is canola oil is far healthier than any saturated fat, and that when you basically replace any saturated fat with polyunsaturated fatty acids, that you have improved health outcomes. And again, that's why I'm saying is, I am suspicious of this. The weight of
Yeah.
the evidence is in favor of seed oils being healthier. The problem is there's a lot of conflict of interest in the studies. There are a lot of novelty studies indicating that high levels of omega-6 are a diabetic factor. There's a lot of studies saying that we need to obfuscate out some of these variables that are maybe hiding the truth of the matter, And you've seen a lot of people go on the Joe Rogan podcast on the topic of seed oils. And like I said, I'm suspicious. I don't think having super high levels of omega-6 is healthy. I think it is a diabetic factor. I think there's a lot of variables that work in conjunction to lead to some of these bad outcomes. But I also do have to look at this bulk of research and say that as it stands, if you are if you're dogmatically assigned to the research and the research only, you do have to give, the weight of the evidence to these polyunsaturated fatty acids. So the seed oils, according to the research, are healthier,
That's
but
unfortunate.
some of the novelty research, and there are reasons to be suspicious of a lot of the research. There's reasons to believe that we haven't maybe understood the mechanics completely, but yeah, it's hard to contend with both things, especially since I want it to be true, because there's like a logical fallacy, right? Which have to admit is a logical fallacy, or an appeal to nature fallacy, which is that, oh, we need to reap, like a metric ton of almonds to get one bottle of almond oil, right? Stuff like that, right? So,
Yeah.
and people kind of use this argument where they say, hey, that's so unnatural. We would never in nature be able to take in this much, this level of seed oils, like 1 tablespoon of seed oil. It's unnatural. I think that's a bit of an appeal to nature fallacy where, there's lots of things we are getting an unnatural amount of. Like, I mean, you really could,
Anything.
yeah.
Like caffeine is one of them, in my opinion. We fucking ramped
Sure,
up like
yeah.
the caffeine intake. Like 300 milligrams is pretty common now in pre-workouts and fucking bangs and all these. That's
Yeah,
not fucking natural at all. So, I
no.
mean,
And
same.
the natural state of being human is kind of being deficient. You can't really get a broad spectrum. I mean, there's other factors too. Like we can look at, say, like highly, you know, titrated EPA in fish oil showing cardiac outcome benefits at high doses. Same with like ubiquinol, CoQ10. It's like, where are you getting excessive amounts of, ubiquinol naturally? I mean, we show cardiac improvements, drastic improvements with, 200 milligrams a day, 300 milligrams a day of ubiquinol. What about, all these other things that when we take amounts that are not seen in nature show, study after study, meta-analysis after analysis that, these improved outcomes, it that argument doesn't hold true. But again, like, I do want to be clear, I am very suspicious of it, and I don't think having especially high levels of oxidized omega-6 is a good idea. And there is a lot of good research indicating that we don't know the full story. So I kind of do, I try not to have super high LDL. It's relatively high. It's above 99, which it's fucking impossible for someone my size eating as much as I'm eating to not have LDL cholesterol above
How many meals a
99.
day are you eating? Or is it meals a day you're eating? Or is it you're just eating large meals in general?
Um, so it kind of depends. When I'm in my off season, like I am now, where I actually eat relatively unhealthy, just because I'm eating it, I trying to get in as many calories. Well, I guess like relatively healthy. Like, I'm not eating a ton of processed food, but I am having, an inordinate amount of dairy. I tolerate dairy extremely well. Like, I can drink a gallon of milk a day with no issues. And the saturated fat levels in milk don't really operate the same way as like coagulated saturated fats in, flesh and meat. So having higher levels of saturated fat through milk doesn't seem to cause any issues. So I have a lot of dairy. I have a lot of kefir. I have red meat every day. I don't eat a lot of chicken. Um,
You're saying,
I
would you
do.
say you're eating every like
Oh yeah,
two
meals.
hours, 3 hours?
I don't eat a ton of. No, I kind of do like. I honestly do like three major meals, and then I am constantly drinking milk, kefir. I'm snacking on fruit all the time. I just love fruit. Like I eat fucking like 4 to 5 kiwis a day with
Hell yeah.
the rind on them. Like I just do. And am I eating optimally? Like, should you do everything I'm doing? No, but
With
I'm
the rind on
also,
them, you said? I just realized that.
yeah, yeah. I've just gotten used to it. Like you pull the little kind of rind part out, and then you just eat the kiwi with the skin on. It's good roughage, good insoluble fiber. As long as it's clean, and I do source my, we in Sigma Citadel, we have a lot of resources, and one of our sponsors is a produce source for grass feed, grass finished beef on land that has never been farmed, never used glyphosate, continues to get third party testing on their soil, never been dusted, never used anything. Because that's kind of important right now. If there's one thing I'm trying to limit is, cattle from land that's been farmed before. That tends to be difficult to find land that has never been farmed, that keeps native vegetation, diverse vegetation, doesn't do a lot of baling in the winter. Like, it kind of depends. You can kind of bale with forage matter and have better quality grass-fed beef. But the important one is that there's never been glyphosate on the land. And as it stands, there's not a whole lot of land in the US that hasn't used glyphosate with their cattle. And so I encourage people to look a little bit more into where they're sourcing their produce or their beef, chicken, etc. Like, if you've ever seen a healthy egg, like if you've ever seen what a free range, like down the road, I get my eggs from a local guy who's just got
It's
a
like
free range chicken
orange,
coop.
right?
It's very dark orange. Like, it's very obvious this guy loves his hens, right?
High smoking.
And he does. He loves his hens, and they have a great life, and they lay eggs for him and a few local people around here. And the eggs are diverse in color, but when you crack them, they're like a very deep orange. And it's, for most people, it's the first time they see what a chicken egg really should look like. And I don't know the exact physiological reason biological reason for the deep color. I assume it's some kind of either some kind of nutrient deficiency or something, maybe like a lack of keratin in the egg. I don't even know if there is keratin in the egg, but some kind of pigmentation issue related to nutrients. And
my biggest fear with my food right now is the amount of fucking pesticides we consume, and whether it's on fruit that, even with the organic sticker on it, they're like probably still spraying it down. And like you could pick up an apple and fucking rub it on your shirt for 5 minutes and you'll see the difference between a waxed pesticide covered apple versus not. Any product you use to actually wash fruit like that, or anything you can do to try and avoid?
So there's a lot of commercial brands you can get that I think there's certain herbicides and pesticides that are water soluble, and there's certain ones that are hydrophobic. So you're going to have to use a soap or some kind of lipid to wash it off, to bind to it and then remove it. So, typically if you're washing your fruit, the problem is there's going to also be some endogenous content to the fruit that is, some level of herbicide or pesticide that is inside the fruit. And that's why sourcing becomes more important. I believe you can Google, there's a trick with the binary codes where I believe if it starts, at least in the US, with an 8 versus a 4, and whether it's 4 digits or if it's 5 or 6 digits, there's different designations. So you can actually look that even if it says, organic, that doesn't mean I believe if it's organic and does not use herbicides or pesticides, that it starts with a 8, I believe, and is a 6-digit code or something. You can look this up. That's a good way, just shopping for produce, to see past the bullshit where you just look and you see organic and you assume they don't use, Roundup, glyphosate, they don't use herbicides, pesticides, but that's not true. Actually, still in the US, most most organic produce still uses herbicides and pesticides. So you have to kind of
Yeah.
go the extra mile to figure out whether or not they use nothing. And it's even tougher with beef. Beef sourcing. I say this all the time. Your grocery store beef is very unlikely to be the best quality that you could get. You probably do want to go to like an online wholesale beef retailer, like the ones we have in our Discord, where and trust me, it was tough finding some of these farms or some of these ranches. I looked for weeks through various ranches and calling them, getting information them, to what level has the land been farmed ever, who are the third party testers, trying to determine if there are herbicides, pesticides, or glyphosate in the soil. um, all those things take a lot of research, but once you find a good source, just getting by mail, buy a chest free. I told everybody this during the pandemic, and even when actually just recently, everything's gotten more expensive at the grocery store. A lot of people asking me how they can eat healthy, affordably. How can I get my grass-fed beef but not be cheap? As I said, you're gonna have to get like a $50 chest freezer that's like 3 by 5 feet, and then buy like a quarter cow and freeze it. I'm not kidding.
My buddy
It's
wanted
so
to do
much
that.
cheaper. Yeah, you should do that. I mean, you can also, like, if you hunt, obviously there's cheap ways to get, really a lot of meat. If you can do like venison, if you like it. And but yeah, like buy a quarter cow, get the cuts you want, whatever, and just buy wholesale grass-fed beef. And it's going to be a lot cheaper than buying in the grocery store. And if you source it well, it's going to be a lot healthier. Eliminating, like, it's the same thing with the microplastics thing. A lot of people ask me, Sensei, how do I remove my microplastics from my body? And I said, look, we have absolutely no concurrent research showing effective ways to do that. A lot of people have been talking about apple pepsin or charcoal, etc. But the first thing I say is, well, what is plastic? Plastic is mostly hydrogen and carbon, and so it binds really well into adipose tissue and fat. And so where are you storing most of your microplastics in your body? It's probably in your fat cells. And so unless you plan on losing as much fat as possible and at the same time recycling out those microplastics while taking measures in, your laundry is a big way people get microplastics in them,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah, polyester clothing.
Yeah,
I literally have a new obsession with linen and cotton clothing. Shout out my
yeah,
girlfriend
so
for
that's
supplying me with a bunch.
yeah, so that's the first thing I tell people is really, like, removing the existing microplastics is going to be really difficult because we don't know of any specific agents that get into adipose tissue and free up microplastics. It's going to be very unlikely you're going to remove the stored microplastics. So what you should be doing in the meantime is getting a water filter, going to cotton linen, and I believe, I think there's certain things you can do with your laundry cycle to remove microplastics from there. Those are all things you can do, and then obviously farmed, like I've been saying, ranches where they farmed the land in previous generations, or they use adjacent agricultural runoff. There's higher microplastic content in those cattle. So obviously your produce, same thing, washing, scraping, de-waxing your fruit, where you're sourcing your food is going to be a huge factor. But ultimately, I think people probably get the best bang for their buck by just having a really good water filter.
Yeah, I have an RO water filter, and like I just got it off of Amazon, did some research, but uh, sometimes I feel like I'm lacking some electrolytes and minerals, but I'll just compensate with, in meals and BCAAs, whatever I can find.
Yeah. Getting potassium, magnesium, and sodium, you can get like electrolyte mixes. I don't think they're usually pretty good with like what type of magnesium it is, but in terms of sodium and potassium, pretty easy to get, after, let's say you're basically drinking, distilled water, adding those electrolytes is not super difficult. So but the problem is if you're drinking distilled water, a lot of times they store it in, plastic containers. So ultimately you want to be doing your own filtering and then storing it in like a glass or, canteen.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, to those who listened, pandas are at 2.4 ETH floor or whatever the fuck it was. I gave one away at like 0.8 2 weeks ago. And fucking they're probably gonna go to 5 ETH, 6 ETH next pudgies. So if you're holding, good job. Shout out Bags, the fucking legend. To those who doubted him, you're an idiot. You get left in the dust.
I've been saying all year, that's like the only thing. I have a ton of pandas. I've been shilling pandas for the entire, probably the last 6 months. I've been saying like, why hold anything else right now?
Pandas are fire. Sensei, I'm so fucking hungry from this conversation. I haven't had anything but a smoothie since 11. It's time for me to depart. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. It's been a fucking ball. I just posted an ETH scalp long that I'm taking for the day. I have bids. I'm not like fully full, but I have bids down to the equal lows. Every $2 I have a bid. But it was a fucking ball. I'm going to give you a call later this day and we'll catch up on a personal level.
Yeah, man.
I'm getting
Thank you for having me.
It's been fun. I'm going to be a little more active in your Discord. I want to partake in getting healthier. And I'll make sure my buddy does too. But viewers, thank you for tuning in. I love entertaining you all and hopefully you learned something from both of us. I'll catch you guys next week. Probably it's fucking, what's today? Yeah, it's Monday. I don't know. I'll do another one later this week. If you want to come on anytime, Sensei, feel free. You're welcome. And we're going to be hosting spaces as well. You messaged me saying that.
Yeah, I would love to.
I'd love to co-host or hop in and just talk shit. So let me know, bro. Just ping me about it. But thanks for tuning in. Shout out Phemex for making this happen.